How's it going, guys? It is September 22nd, 2020, and Iowa deer season is just right around the corner. It starts October 1st, although I don't typically really hunt until closer to November 1st. But anyway, deer season's around the corner, and it's got me kind of in that mood. I need to go down and check tree stands and do some trimming of lanes. And it made me think of something that I've been putting off for a long time, and I haven't really meant to, but up there in that freezer is actually the buck that I shot last year, and I caped it, threw it in the freezer, and to be honest with you, I don't even remember what this deer looks like. It's not a big buck. It's probably a decent average 8-point, I think, maybe a 9-point. I'm going to be curious to see what it looks like when I get it down. The reason I actually put it in there is I meant to, I was going to cape it and bring it to, I'm sorry, I didn't cape it actually. I tubed it when I took it off the buck, so I saved the cape. I meant to cape it off the head, and I was going to bring it to my taxidermist and sell him the cape, but I never got it done, and here it is, whatever, 10 months later, 11 months later, and it's still sitting in this freezer. So I need to get this thing down. I need to look at it. I'll call my taxidermist, see if he's interested in getting this cape. Otherwise, I may just go ahead and just cut it off the head. But my plan is I'm actually going to do a Euro mount with this thing. Again, it's not a huge buck, but it's definitely big enough that it's worth hanging on the wall. And I'm going to show you the process that I use, that I've used before, kind of the easiest way that I figured out to get a deer skull clean. And then I'll just show you, kind of the process that I use to Euro mount. And it's a pretty easy process. The way I do it takes a little bit of time, but it's fairly, it's not very labor intensive, which is what I like. So I'll just kind of show you. But first step, I got to get this thing down, get this freezer up on this top shelf. So I've got to use a tractor and get it down on the ground. We'll pull it out of the freezer. We'll see what this thing actually looks like. Okay, kind of a pain to get down by myself, but now let's see what this thing looks like. Holy cow, I've got deer sticks in here. I didn't even know that. Alright, so there he is. Nothing too special. Here's a little, the area that I hunt has been, used to be a good spot, but I've got a bunch of guys that have moved in here now, and this was kind of a desperation shot, actually. I thought, I didn't want to let the season go past without shooting something, so I took this little guy. He's probably 100, I'm going to say he's probably like a 120-inch buck. He's nothing special, but he's a little 9-point, 8 or 9-point. But anyway, so here's the buck. So again, I'm going to call the taxidermist. I'm going to see if he wants this cape. If not, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to let it kind of thaw just a little bit, so it's not frozen solid. And we'll get the head cut off, and I'll show you the next step that I use to actually get this moving toward the final European stage. Well, guys, it ended up that my taxidermist was available today, but I ended up having to work this morning. So since I had this thing out thawing last night, I didn't want to risk having this cape go bad, because I am going to, I don't know, sell it to him, or I'll just give it to him if he wants to use it. So it's always good practice, I think, to cape out ahead. So I went ahead and just did it myself. So anyway, I'll get this rolled up, get this back in the freezer, and we're ready to get this thing dunked. All right, guys, so I'm ready to actually start the process of cleaning the skull. So the method that I use here, if you haven't figured this out, is actually called maceration, which basically is just kind of a fancy term for letting bacteria eat away the flesh, more or less. So you're going to see this is very, very simple compared to, I've cleaned heads before, with the traditional, like turkey pot boil method, and that to me it's just kind of frustrating. You have to sit there for hours boiling the thing, or simmering. I think you actually should simmer it, not boil it. But when I did that, I ended up with all kinds of connective tissue that was stuck on there, and I just felt like I spent forever, you know, picking and pulling and trying to get all the little bits of stuff stuck on that skull. This process, this maceration process, you basically throw this in the bucket, you let nature kind of do its thing, and the bacteria will eat away everything. So you don't have to mess with it. I'm throwing it in there. Hey, get back. No, get back. Dogs like it, if you can see. So I'm just throwing it in there just like it is. I'm not taking out brains. I'm not taking off the jaw. I'm not taking off any more meat other than I just caped it out. And this is a very hands-off process. Literally, just throw it in the bucket. What I'll do, I've done this before, where I literally cut the head off of a deer, hide and all. I didn't skin the head even. I just threw the whole thing in the bucket, and I didn't touch it. And I came back, I don't know, a few weeks later probably, and it's amazing how that bacteria will just literally eat everything. It eats the hide and it eats everything. There's really nothing left. So, but I think what I'm going to do this time, if I keep my dogs away, is I'm going to fill the bucket just to the base of the antler burrs, and hey, quit you two. I'm going to plan to change the water out every few days, kind of keep fresher water. I think from a little bit of research, there's aerobic bacteria that's working on this, and that'll do better with fresher water. So I'm going to plan every 3 to 4 days to change this out. One key that I would definitely recommend. So I'm using an aquarium heater here, and there's different grades of aquarium heaters. Most of them that you just get, you know, cheap ones at Walmart are they're not powerful enough. So this is actually a 100-watt aquarium heater, and it's got an adjustable, you can actually adjust the temperature on it, and it goes up to 93 degrees it looks like. And I'm going to crank this baby to full tilt, because the more that bacteria really likes the heat, the warmer you can keep this, the quicker it'll work, the more effective it is. So I'll see if I can find this thing. I'll put a link below. You know, it's not expensive, but I do remember that I had to work a little bit harder to find this than just your basic, you know, cheapo $10 one at Walmart, although it's probably 20 bucks. It's not really that expensive. So, and what I'm going to do, actually, I've got this old 55-gallon plastic drum. So I'll show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to fill this. I'm going to bag, I'll get my heater in there, and then I'm going to bag this with a garbage bag, and that is basically just to try to keep the bugs out, because you know, you get filled up with maggots and everything else in there. And I'm gonna set that inside this drum, and then I'm gonna throw a tarp over the drum and put a bungee cord around it. So one is to kind of keep the bugs out, the other two is to kind of keep the stink down. This does reek to high heaven when you do this, and you know, just whatever for. I don't really have much for neighbors around here, but keep my wife happy. So this is going to be sitting behind my shop. I've got an old dog run behind my shop that we don't use, and I don't want to, it's not too far from our campfire ring, so I don't want it stinking and having my wife be upset. So anyway, that's what I'll do. I'll kind of show you the process as I put this all together, and we'll get it bundled up. Okay, so just kind of show you my setup here. So I've got my drum, got my bucket in there inside the contractor bag, and you can see I've got the, there's my heater, my aquarium heater. I just used a twist tie there, and I just got it hanging off of the brow tine there. So make sure you get that down there deep enough that the heating elements are submerged in the water. So I've got just enough water in there to cover up the meat of the head. I might put another 1/2 inch in there so it's completely submerged. I'm going to go ahead and zip tie this thing up. I'm going to plug it in. I'm going to come back in about 3 days, and we'll dump out the initial bucket of gook and refresh the water. And these guys are going nuts. They're very interested in what's going on here. Aren't you, buddy? All right, guys, so it's been 1 week since I put the head in the bucket of water. We're going to go ahead and pull it out and take a look and see how much progress we've made. Gloves are recommended. It's, as you can imagine, stinky mess. All right, so we've got some serious good rot going on here. I'll just pull it out and you can see that all this in the front here is pretty well gone. Inside these, I apologize too guys, super windy today. Hopefully you can hear me okay, but you can see that whole face already is coming nicely clean. All these little orifices here where there's scent glands on on the forehead of the deer, that's just rotting right out of there. The eyes are basically done for, and a lot of this meat on the back of the head here is loose. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take an old knife. I'm going to go back here in the woods where my dogs won't get into it. I'm just going to cut off some of these kind of big hunks of meat real quick. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. I'll just cut the big chunks off. I'm going to pour out the bucket of water, and then I'm going to throw this thing back in with, I'm using some hot water to get it going as quickly as possible, but I'll just go clean it up a little bit and throw it back in the bucket. Okay guys, so I just spent about 5 or 10 minutes there knocking off kind of the big chunks. I was able to get the eyes out, which is nice. Still have one vertebrae in the back here that I couldn't quite get off yet, but as you can see, that's a week of soaking, and it's a long way toward being done. So we'll throw it back in. You know, this meat back here, took some of the big chunks off. As you can still see, there's still red meat there, so it hasn't rotted completely yet, but this underneath part here, kind of the bottom of the mouth, I kind of forgot about that. I probably could have cut a lot of that off too, but it's all right. I'll just throw it in, let it soak. So we're going to dunk it back in. I'm going to go ahead and give it some more. This is hot water that I'm putting in here, so my aquarium heater doesn't have to work so hard to get it up to temp, so I don't burn that little thing up. All right. So we got her dunked. I'm going to throw it back in the bag, wrap it back up, put the aquarium heater back in, and probably leave it for another week. And I'll come back and give you guys another update. Alright guys, so another week has gone by. We're going to go out and check the check the status of the deer head. I just got to share with you, we're in the second week of October, and man, the timbers just come alive with color. Lots of hickories in my backyard, and man, those things are beautiful. Love this time of year. Starting to see a few deer moving around here. A couple little bucks around. Saw my first buck dead on the side of the road 2 days ago, which is always a sign that they're moving. They're picking corn, and we're getting close. So we'll set down here. My guess is we're 2 weeks in now. And my guess is we're probably going to need to soak for one additional week. But I'll go ahead and get this pulled out. See how it looks. All right, so I can see that I needed more water in there. My water is down. Let me get this out. I've got about 2 inches of the back of the head that's exposed above the water. So got some evaporation that took place, and I definitely should have had more in there. All right, so you can see that we're in really good shape, actually. So most of this stuff, let me grab a knife. So pretty much everything on here is loose. The only thing, and actually even a lot of this on the back of the head here, I'm going to be able to cut some of that off. But I would say that if I would have had more water in there, and I wouldn't have, you know, the back of this is all going to cut off here. So about the only thing that's not clean at this point is just some of this here in the back of the skull, and as you can see, it's kind of leathery because this is what was exposed out of the water. But the rest of that skull, those preorbital glands, those are clean. Everything up inside of those sinuses, in there, the bottom of the mouth, the brain is completely gone. So at this point, this thing is dang near clean. And again, if I would have if I would have had more water in there, the back of the skull would be clean too. So, but not a big deal. So that's 2 weeks right there. So same drill. I'm gonna go ahead and dump this out, and there's still enough nastiness here that I think I can change out my water. I probably could just add to this water, but I'm just gonna go ahead and change it out and put some fresh in there and give it 1 more week and make sure I get it you know, completely submerged, and I think we'll be good. One thing to watch when you get to this point is these teeth will get loose from soaking in the water, so be careful that you don't lose any teeth. I have had that happen before, and you'll need to, you know, when you dump your bucket, you'll have to fish your teeth back out, and then before you do your European, you can just use a little Elmer's glue and glue those back in there. But anyway, there you go. So I'll go ahead and dump this, get some more water in back in the bucket, and I'll come back to you probably in another week. All right, guys. So it's been about another week. We're gonna see what we got here, and hopefully we've got a final product. It got cold last night. We actually had some snow. We're down to, looks like the forecast for the next week is going to be in the 40s, and I don't think that cold weather is going to be very conducive to this process. So hopefully we got it. All right, so that flesh that was in the back of the head there is all loose. It's gone. Teeth are still intact, so that's good. So there's your final result. It's just all loose. It all just comes right off there. Clean on the bottom. Any residue on there is all just loose. Comes right off. So now all I'm going to do is take it and hit it with a garden hose, kind of knock off the maggots and any kind of little bit of loose debris that's on there, and it's clean. It's ready for the whitening process. So that's how I do that. Hopefully you guys found that helpful if you're thinking about cleaning your own head. Like I said, I've done this different ways. This is the easiest way, I think, based on my experience. So give it a shot. So I guess this was 3 weeks in that bucket to get everything perfectly clean. So if you're interested in seeing how I actually, everything's kind of yellow and stuff. So now the next process will be to get this whitened, so it makes a nice clean European mount. If you're interested in seeing how I do that, go ahead and when I get that video done, I'll throw a link up above. If you want to subscribe to my channel, you can get a notice when I've got that video out, but I'll show you how I do that, which is a pretty easy process too. So thanks for watching, guys.